acapella world, and hello new Pitch Slapped fans who might be stumbling upon too many notes for the first time. My name's Deke, Sharon, and I will be your host through today's intrepid journey into the heart of acapella. What I want to talk about this week is something that I actually address in the first episode of Pitch Slapped, and I actually spent a long time with the singers of Stay Tuned on this, but of course there's only so much time in the television hour, and there are commercials, and we need all the stakes of like, there's only 2 days left till competition, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of this got left on the cutting room floor. But I want to share it with you because I've already gotten back so many nice messages about how helpful it was. So without further ado, here is my take on acapella dynamics. You ready? Are you ready? Okay, so the first thing you need to know is that people in America and through most of the rest of the world don't speak Italian. This is problematic because the language of music is Italian, and the words forte and piano and mezzo forte are the classic way in which composers and arrangers indicate what they want the singers or performers to be doing with dynamics. However, it is a very blunt instrument that is not particularly effective with most choirs, particularly young choirs. You say, okay, now we want to be singing piano. You mean you want me to sound like a piano? It's a catastrophe often. So when I'm working with groups, I use a completely different system, a system that is very easy for people to understand because it's the way we think of loudness and volume here in America in the 21st century. And that's a number system. Numbers 0 or 1 through 10. Mine goes to 11. So what I do is I communicate numbers instead of using Italian words in many cases because it's so much more effective for young singers, for amateur singers, to understand exactly what you want. So regarding these numbers, the thing you ought to know is that most groups really only sing between about 3 and 7. They never go all the way to their loudest, and they never go all the way to their quietest, which is a shame because dynamics exist in relation to each other. Think about the color wheel, think about light and dark. You need to go all the way to absolute light and absolute dark if you really want to use the entire range of chiaroscuro. It's a big word for you, big word. They don't let me use words like chiaroscuro on Lifetime. Those also ended up on the cutting room floor. The point I'm trying to make is that you want to use the entire range of light to dark, the entire range of loud to soft. So what do these numbers mean? Number 0 is silence. The number 1 is just barely above silence, singing that's so quiet that you think your voice is going to give out. But when you hear singing that quiet, it's incredibly compelling. It's like when someone's whispering and saying something really intense to you. And remember, the quiet doesn't mean lack of intensity. It can sometimes be soft and gentle, but other times it can be very, very strong. You know, someone can yell, "I hate you!" But sometimes it's more powerful if they say, "I hate you." So what does 10 mean then? 10 is actually screaming at the top of your lungs, like yelling at someone, "Watch out, there's a bus coming," and you're in the middle of the street. We never really sing at 10. 9 is about as loud as you really hear groups going, and that's when there's a gospel group that's just pouring its soul out and the rafters are shaking. I usually keep most groups to about an 8.5 because once you start getting up to 9, the pitch really starts to go. It's like you're about ready to go through the sound barrier and the entire airplane is rattling like this. You don't want that very often. But if you think about it, singing between 1 and 8.5 is huge, huge difference in dynamics. If you start to use this with your singers, I guarantee you will find amazing results. Then you can dial in a mezzo piano at around a 3, and then you can have a mezzo forte at 5, and then you can really find gradients between mezzo forte and forte that when you use those words don't really exist. When you're talking about going from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 8.5, there's a lot of leeway in there. Whereas just using the words mezzo forte, forte, and fortissimo, it's a much less clear scale. And there are fewer gradients in between, so it's harder for you to dial in exactly what you want. One other thing to realize is that our culture, our music right now, is super compressed on the radio. You rarely hear dynamic range. So when you actually hear dynamics, it's like a whole new dimension of sound opens up to you. I've got another video where I describe the ultimate acapella toolkit where I'm talking about the 4 dimensions of sound in physics. There's pitch, there's duration, there's timbre, and there's dynamics. Most choirs are focusing on the first three a great deal, and all music uses it, but not that many really drill down into dynamics. So when you hear it, it's like walking into an IMAX theater and putting on 3D glasses, and all of a sudden that two-dimensional movie pops to life and becomes 3 dimensions. When you hear great singing with true dynamics, there's a whole 4th dimension of music that opens up to you. And it's wow. It's wow. I highly recommend you start playing around with this number system and working with different gradations of volume within your singers. Push them to their loudest. See how quiet they can sing without making any sound. I guarantee you, you will have a whole new dimension of sound to play with. If you got any questions, post them below. If you've got any other things that you'd like me to address in Too Many Notes, post it below. If you'd like some book recommendations, good things to read, check out my Goodreads account. I don't know, I just what I was saying. So I'll see you next time.